Hey guys, and welcome to Match Week 21 predictions. Last week was not really a great week for any of us except for Jackson. He's actually extended his lead. So we'll start with Julian. He's now on 9 points, picking up 5 points this week. I'm on 11. I think I actually had the worst week out of everyone. And Jackson has moved now 3 clear of me. He's on 14. He had a really good set of results this last week, so week 20. But without further ado, let's get into week 21. We're starting off with Everton Newcastle. Newcastle, it's time to replace Steve Bruce. They don't have any structure. They don't have any good performances in them. Almiron and St. Maximum, they're obviously their 2 best players, still underperforming. I know Almiron scored this week, but you know, they need to start getting all cylinders firing, and I think the only way to do that is changing manager. That being said, Everton got a good, nice 1-1 draw with Leicester, team above them in the table. I think they'll be happy with that. And they're going to have too much. They are definitely having too much, and I see this being quite a whitewash game. Everton 4, Newcastle 0.
Everton and Newcastle. Everton have been really impressive this season. I think this should be a relatively easy win over Newcastle, who have been pretty much the complete opposite and utter disappointment. I think this may just be one of Steve Bruce's last games in charge, so I've gone Everton 2-0 in this one.
So I'm going to start with the Everton-Newcastle game, and I've got Everton 3-1. Everton were competitive against Leicester, and I predicted Leicester to win. They did impress me, but on the other hand, Newcastle, like the complete opposite. They are just god-awful at the moment. I'm predicting that this 3-1 loss, if it does happen, will make Steve Bruce sacked. I'm saying 2 weeks after at least, or if not that week. Well, Steve Bruce is literally on the ropes right now. A comprehensive loss here will not do well for his career. So yeah, I've got Everton 3-1.
Moving on to Crystal Palace Wolves. Look, Wolves got a pretty decent result at Stamford Bridge. 0-0 is a very good result against Chelsea, if you're anyone. Crystal Palace, bit unlucky against Aston Villa. Oh, sorry, not Aston Villa. Bit unlucky against West Ham. Claret and Blue, pretty much same thing. This one again, not again. This one I see ending in a stalemate. So Crystal Palace 1, Wolves 1.
Next up is Palace and Wolves. 2 teams that have been pretty mediocre and maybe disappointing for Wolves this season. Very similar league positions, and I think the result of 1-1 is going to reflect that between Palace and Wolves.
Next we've got Crystal Palace and Wolves. So I predicted the Wolves 2-1 after getting a 0-0 draw against Chelsea. Crystal Palace are very lucky to score against West Ham. I think it was Michy Batshuayi who scored a consolation. But Wolves finally have kept that clean sheet. They might be onto something here. Crystal Palace are very inconsistent as well. That being said, I think they'll score 1 thanks to like some Zaha class or something. But I think Wolves will bounce back. They'll finally get that win since that they've been looking for quite a while. And yeah, I'm saying 2-1 to Wolves.
Moving on to top of the table. For the second week in a row, we have top of the table against bottom of the table. And again, a Manchester club versus Sheffield United. So Manchester City taking on Sheffield this time. We're not going to see any upsets at all. I don't need to say anything more. Man City 4. And maybe the only upset here is that I think Sheffield will get a goal out of somewhere. So Man City 4, Sheffield 1.
Third game, my team, Man City versus Sheffield United, bottom of the table versus top of the table. Normally you'd expect a game like this to go maybe a big score like the game last match week, 5-0 to City. I'm actually going to go a bit more modest, and I think City will win this one 2-0.
Alright, Man City and Sheffield, and wow, Sheffield beating Man U, wow. That being said, they're not going to do it again. I mean, Man City is just too class. They're way better than United, like leaps and bounds better. And I'm saying 3-1 to Man City. I just think that Man City are too class for Sheffield.
Right, West Brom Fulham, probably the most dull game on the list, but it's a 6-pointer for relegation. I think team that wins this one could go and stay up. Obviously, there's a long way to go. We've still got 18 games left. But I think Sam Allardyce is going to produce a masterclass in this one. I know I said that about Jose Mourinho last time out against Liverpool, and I got it drastically wrong. But I think Allardyce has a better chance of slumming out a result against a relegation candidate opposition. So this one, I really do see it being a dull game, really cagey, not many chances. But I'm going West Brom 1, Fulham 0.
West Brom and Fulham. I've got West Brom 1-0. Although Fulham did get a 0-0 draw with Brighton, they're just not gonna. I just don't see them maintaining that kind of competitiveness. Although they have been competitive in all games. Oh, I don't know. Well, I'm going to say West Brom 1-0 because West Brom are more attacking, and I just feel like I have to make these kind of calls to catch up with Jackson and Finn.
Right, biggest game of the weekend, Arsenal, Manchester United. Arsenal in good form, Manchester United, well, they're in all right form, but, they've just lost to Sheffield United, so they'll be hungry for a result to sort of prove that they are worthy of fighting for the title. But I don't see them getting the result they want at the Emirates. I think Arsenal are playing some good stuff. They got some nice young players coming through, and Aubameyang should be back. He should be back. That being said, I don't see Arsenal winning either. I think it will be, again, another cagey game. Just too much for both teams at stake at this one. It's going to end all square. Arsenal 1, Manchester United 1.
Arsenal and Manchester United, one of the biggest rivalries in English football. Two huge clubs. Haven't been the best in recent years. I think this is going to be a bit of a weird game. And I actually think United are going to avenge the earlier game this season and win this one 3-0.
Arsenal Man U in what is probably the biggest game of this round. I've got Arsenal 2-1, and I know that's a huge call, but I have to catch up with Jackson and Finn. So I've gone 2-1 because Arsenal, honestly, they've convinced me they're back. They are so back. Their form is incredible. Man U are coming off a loss to Sheffield United. What are you doing? And I think they're going to falter again. Man U, they've not convinced me at all since being top of the table. And Arsenal, the likes of Saka and Smith Rowe, their class. I'm saying an Arsenal win. They're going to pull out a huge win. It's going to be 2-1.
Moving on to what I predict to be the most entertaining as a neutral. Southampton, Aston Villa, two pretty decent sides. Two sides probably overachieving this season. They dropped down the table a little bit more, but obviously Aston Villa have 2 games in hand or something like that. So they're in touching distance of the top 7, which is where both of these teams will probably want to end up come the end of this season. Like I said, playing good stuff, and I see this being a very high-scoring game. I reckon Grealish is going to have a great game again, but I see it being Southampton 3, Aston Villa 3.
Southampton and Aston Villa, a game a couple of weeks ago that could have been a bit bigger clash, but both sides have dropped points recently, especially Villa losing their last 2, and Southampton losing to Arsenal last week. I still think it's going to be an entertaining game, and I think Aston Villa are going to get back on the winners list and win this one 2-1 in a good, entertaining game.
All right. Southampton v Aston Villa. I've gone for a 1-1. Both sides strike me as very similar to each other, both competitive in most games. Both coming off bad losses. Aston Villa were lost against Burnley and Southampton lost against Arsenal. But I'm saying a 1-1. I might be even in this game. Both sides have some quality. 1-1.
Moving on to my boys, and I know Tuchel got his first taste of Premier League football against Wolves, but he's only been a manager for 24 hours before that game kicks off. This is going to be his first proper test, and it'll be nice to see what he does with the team. I think he needs to go for some pace against Burnley. Burnley are a very robust side. They're going to sit back. They're going to defend. They're going to really try and get a result at Stamford Bridge. This is the first time this season that I'm predicting Chelsea to get a result. Well, first time on these videos. I do see them winning. It's not going to be anything too fancy. It's just going to be get the job done and get out of there sort of thing. But I do see it ending Chelsea 2, Burnley 1.
Next up are Chelsea and Burnley. Now, Burnley have been in scintillating form recently, back-to-back wins against Liverpool and Villa. Chelsea, on the other hand, have just sacked their manager. And I continue to back Chelsea. They continue to let me down. I'm going to back them again. I'm going to say 3-0. Not sure if this one's going to turn out so well for me, but I'll back Tuchel. I'll back Chelsea once again.
Chelsea v Burnley. So Chelsea coming off that 0-0 draw to Wolves, which they really should have won, if I'm being honest with you. And Burnley coming off a great win against Aston Villa, and I absolutely slagged off Burnley in the predictions before this. And before I called there was no way they'd win at Anfield, and then they won at Anfield. And then I called there was no way they were going to beat Aston Villa, and then they went and beat Aston Villa. So I'm actually going to go with a positive result for them. I'm going 1-1 with Chelsea.
Right, moving on to high flyers Leicester, looking to bounce back after a draw at Everton, which in no way is a poor result this season. I think, they might have thought they could have got something out of it, but at the end of the day, it's a point, and they can only build on it. They're playing Leeds, obviously an entertaining side to watch, but against the bigger sides, they are very open. Leicester, no arguments here, are one of those bigger sides. They definitely have a really, really good chance of top 4 in Champions League football. Again, I am going Leicester 4, Leeds 0. I just feel like Leeds will be too open.
Next up is Leicester and Leeds. Now, Leicester couldn't have impressed me much more than they have already. Leeds have also played a lot of entertaining football, not in the best of form themselves, whereas Leicester have played really, really well consistently throughout the entire year. And I actually think that Leicester are going to get a win here, and I think they're going to win 2-0. I think they're going to hold Leeds to no goals, and I put 2 past them.
So the next game we've got Leicester and Leeds. I've gone 3-2 to Leicester. Both sides are very attacking. I think Leeds will get on the score sheet, but they won't necessarily win. I think Leicester have the class. Although Leeds were playing a very lacklustre Newcastle side, they won't really continue that form, and they'll lose to Leicester.
Final 2 games. So, West Ham versus Liverpool. Now, obviously, West Ham high flyers at the moment, sitting in 5th, if I recall correctly. Liverpool 4th after their win against Spurs. Wow, 4th versus 5th, a huge game. Now, look, I don't see West Ham sustaining this for much longer. I think that we'll see them slowly make a dip down, especially as Arsenal and Chelsea move up. Maybe even Aston Villa with their games in hand. So, I think an optimistic goal for West Ham should be Europa League football. Will they get it? Probably not, but it's a really good step in the right direction, especially for a team that was chalked off as relegation candidates by so many people. But Liverpool, big win against Jose Mourinho's Spurs. To put 3 past them is a big deal. So, hopefully for Liverpool fans, this is them back to their best. And I do see them getting a win at the London Stadium, and I think it'll be pretty comfortable as well. I'm going West Ham 0, Liverpool 2.
Second to last game, West Ham and Liverpool. Almost looking like a top 4 clash at the moment, which is absolutely insane. West Ham have been brilliant this year. Liverpool definitely dropped off a little bit as of recently, but were able to get a big win over Tottenham 3-1. And I think they're going to continue that. I think Liverpool are going to really, really push for the title in the back end of this year, and I think they're going to win this one 4-1 in emphatic fashion.
West Ham and Liverpool. So I've gone for Liverpool 3-1. West Ham were very wasteful in front of goal against Crystal Palace, especially the likes of Antonio. And Liverpool impressed me after losing to Burnley. They'd beaten Tottenham at Tottenham in a very dominant performance, I'd say. But I've gone Liverpool 3-1. The front 3 as well has truly proved itself at Liverpool, and they should have a field day over against West Ham.
Moving on to the final game of this match week. Now, do remember there's midweek games, so we'll be up with another video pretty soon. But it's Brighton versus Spurs. Brighton got a goalless draw against Fulham. And, Spurs pretty much were ripped apart by Liverpool 3-1 at home. They lost. I see this being quite a difficult game for Spurs, but they shouldn't have too many problems. I other than, Brighton will sit back and defend and make it really hard for extended periods of time. But I do see Spurs persevering and getting a result here. Brighton 1, Spurs 2.
Finally, to end the match week, we've got Brighton and Spurs. Spurs definitely a really, really disappointing game against Liverpool. Had some chances, were not good enough defensively in my opinion. Brighton also haven't been great this year. Bit of an iffy one, but I'm going to back Spurs in this one, 3-1.
And then lastly, Brighton and Spurs. I think Spurs will bounce back from that loss against Liverpool. I've gone for a 4-1 victory for Spurs against Brighton. Brighton didn't really show me much in that 0-0 draw v Fulham, and I reckon Son and Kane will break down the Brighton defence, which is so open often at the back. Which is so often open at the back. That's what I meant to say. But I've gone Spurs 4-1.
Well, guys, that brings us to the end of the video. That's match week 21 that we have predicted for you. Please let us know what you think in the comments down below. Let us know what you think is going to happen in the games and whether or not we got it spot on or completely wrong, as I have learnt from last week. I'm not going to be optimistic and say I'm going 10 from 10 because that did not work for me last time. But leave a like, leave that comment, don't forget to subscribe, and check out our Instagram page for the full list of all the predictions. We'll be back in a couple days with another podcast and with more predictions for you guys. So until then, stay safe.